Welcome to the Webmasters meeting. I'm Janet Greaser, and today's speaker is going to be Andrea from Nebraska.gov. But before she gets to talking, I have just a couple things I want to ask. And one of them is, this was going to be a two-part session, and the second part is all about statistical packages for your website. And I wanted to know what your thoughts are about having the first Wednesday of March be the second session. I know we've missed like three or four months. I haven't figured out anything to do. Now that I figured out something to do, I want to do them right away, and then, then have another lapse of 2 or 3 months. So I would like to ask people if they mind if the first Wednesday of March be our next Webmasters meeting. If that's okay, please raise your hand.
That would be it anyway.
Well, we do every other month, so it would be the next Webmasters meeting will be. Did I say March? I meant February. Let me try that again. The next Webmasters meeting will be the first Wednesday in February.
Okay.
Is that one okay? Okay, still get shaking heads. Okay, so an FYI, when we're done with this presentation day, which we are taping, I will send out a link to where it's at, and all the URLs that Andrea is talking about will be part of that link. So you don't have to be writing madly down that kind of stuff. Okay? Any questions before we start? Okay, it's all yours.
Well, I also sent you an email first of the major things that you're probably going to want to use as a reference. Not all of them, because I'm just kind of using them as demos, but I'm glad that they're going to be bookmarking them for Delicious. Thanks for the close-up. Right. I got my hair done just for this. So basically where I'm coming from is I'm the lead marketing creative at Nebraska.gov, and although I do a lot of content all day long for web maintenance, marketing aspects of it are that I want your sites to be found. So really, to me, I feel like it's my job to give value to anybody we work with in the state to know whether or not we're giving you good search results or how I can consult you on how to do that. And so when I'm telling you how to basically set up a search, you don't have to. If you don't want to, you can have us do that for you. We can send you code, etc. But we also want you to feel empowered to do it on your own. Some of you don't host with us, so you're going to be going through the CIO as well. But I'm going to be coming from this as Nebraska.gov and how we work and how you can basically reference us in the future. So we use a Google appliance, and what that means is, and hopefully you're not going to be too overwhelmed with this. So what it means is we go to a custom search that you could even access yourselves, and it uses a wizard that generates code that you would end up cutting and pasting into your website. Now, with empowerment comes a lot of overwhelming confusion sometimes. So I've broken it down into like 3 aspects of what that wizard creates so that you don't have to necessarily get confused with the custom search basics that you're going to see here. But the URL is pretty easy to remember, and I also pass that in your email. It's just google.com CSE for Google search, for custom search engine /docs. And basically you're going to go to the getting started tool area, and I'm thinking that where you're coming from is probably, how do I get the box on my web page? This is probably the first starting point. And really it generates the code for you to cut and paste the box that is on your web page, and also a results page. So that results page can now be something that's hosted on your own site and something that you can maintain with other HTML pages within your template as well. So the 3 things that it generates, this Google search wizard generates, are the search box, the results page code, and then a custom ID. So the custom Google ID is something like, if you are hosting with us, I hope you ask us to maybe help you with it, because we do monitor the Google stats, and we kind of have our own accounts that you don't have to mess with having your own Google email address just for this. You would have some employee turnover. Not that we don't want you to have your own, but employee turnover has been a roadblock in a lot of things we know when it comes to social media too. So it also helps us to kind of generate reports for everyone. If you're hosting with us, you want us to help you out with that. Our main goal, the end result is we would like to know, especially in our applications, where are users stopping? where are they starting, how did they get there, and where are they stopping the process. So let's say with a driver's license renewal, they're trying to get their license renewed, and for some reason they stop. We don't know why, unless we can find what page they stopped on. So we're trying to find ways to make every absolute page be found, and also so that we can report to you what cost savings we are to you, or what benefit we are. And we just think that that's incredibly valuable in marketing as well. So let's say your things need to be found. Where search engine optimization comes in is, how can I give you the best URL to be found, the best keywords to have that application found, and how am I going to analyze why they're not finding it? And that's a big question that's always got people searching for it. So there are people who consider themselves search engine optimization masters, and they will make you feel like, if you go on the web and you search this stuff, they'll make you feel like you do not know what you're doing. Like they want you to pay them to be the masters, and don't worry, this is so complicated, you wouldn't understand, so pay me. And I just want to tell you that I'm going to break it down real simple, so that even though, yes, you could Google this information, I'm just going to take out all the fluff and tell you you're fine if you start out as though it's an outline. When a website is an outline, and we tend to forget those things when we get on a roll, and we just want it to show up. So this should be in the back of your mind after we're done for how to keep it organizationally clean and also be found. And then when it comes to other stuff, for how to be found in marketing materials, we can help you with that too. So I told you how to find it and where to get this code, and the only reason I brought this up was just to show you that it's quite extensive, and that really you're looking for the three things it's going to spit out. So it tells you, looking under the covers, this is the code that you end up grabbing and pasting, and you do not need to know anything about that except for where you're going to replace the search engine ID. That's another thing I can help you find if you ever need help with that or consulting that. Okay, so Google is the appliance we're using, and I think Duncan, I just passed Duncan a note before he got here. He was asking me, how do I set up a limit just for your site? And when it comes to code, they take care of that kind of stuff for you. You're doing that in the search engine wizard. But Duncan is a coder, so I just gave him what we used to do in the past, so it would make more sense. So when you are optimizing a page for search to find you, why recreate the wheel? I just grabbed USA.gov. They have great resources for social media too, and anything that's supposed to be a government obviously we have local laws, but this is very government centered. And so that's another link that I sent to you in your email, and hopefully you'll follow their general best practices. But search engine optimization is basically just, how is Google finding your web page? And everybody acts like it's this really complicated algorithm, and it is for when it comes to ranking your page is important or not, but it's just looking for things being in order. It's looking for keywords. It is searching your content, but how can you bolster it to make it better? If you look through this page, you'll find all kinds of ways to basically try to catch all the keywords that people might put in there in the search engine to find you in the first place. So even though you have your content in there, what if they're looking in a word that you're not using in your content? And there are tools that actually give you ideas for other ways, synonyms, antonyms, that would, they're called keyword generators, and they're free. And there is a link to one here. I would suggest that you use this one called WordStream. I think it's free. It didn't require me to use any kind of email login, sign up. And so when I put in driver's license, they put in all kinds of other ways that people would spell it, other ways that people would, we use so much legal jargon in government that you have to start thinking like a customer. And unless you've got your mom in front of you trying to find something online, you really have no concept anymore since you're in your four walls. So it's a nice tool to have. It's also going to tell you about where to put your keywords in the code itself. So I didn't really sit here, I didn't want to sit here and tell you how to code anything. It's all right here on this link. The things that it's going to look for, obviously it's going to start out with the URL of your site. And I do have something that's a nice resource to talk about how to build URLs even. But it's going to go for your title as well. and what's the title of your page. A lot of you might have a template that's built that generates a title in it, and that might be something worth breaking out of the template for down the road, but it might just say the name of your agency and the title of every page, which is fine. There's other ways to fine-tune it. So it goes next to your H1 and H2 tags, and this is where we all get bad habits. We think we're just going to start putting H's in there for what looks pretty because they're all styled already if you have a style sheet going on. So you'll put H3 just because you think it looks nice and small. But H1 is really, it's functioning like an outline. It wants to be found. So if you want your page to be found, you need to call it what it is every time. H2 is just a subheading. I mean, even your Word applications are going to be generating these. Just make sure you're using your H1s, H2s, H3s in order. And that might be worth time auditing your web page for right now, maybe not. But it is looking for strong tags. I'm not really sure how much I buy into that part. And strong tags are just going to make it bold or not. And I don't really even use strong tags. I use for bold and other styles methods than that. But any web file names in the web document itself. So if you're linking to other things, those are also going to be helping you get found. And what's nice about us as government is we are supposed to be very specific about what our alt tags are in our images, so that even that helps you get found. And because we're so much more specific, it should draw more traffic. Where we're terrible is when it comes to building a URL. And a lot of that is because of the fact that we have maybe other content management systems that are out of our control. But I don't know, how many of you use blogs at home? Or you've at least used a blog admin? A lot of times they build the URL for you, and what you'll notice is it's building it really well. It'll just use the title of the actual website that you gave it and put hyphens in between each one with spaces. But if it's a dynamic web page that's going and grabbing a bunch of stuff, sometimes it clutters up the URL itself, and then Google doesn't find it as fast in theory. So I also have another link to something called SEO, Anatomy of a URL on SEOmozilla.org. This is a great, I'm sorry, SEOmoz.org. Now I'll give you a URL that's specific to this PDF, but this is just telling you the anatomy of how you should be building it in order for everything to become, basically for Google to find it in order. And I guess where this comes in play is for websites that are a lot more specific about the way it has to be filed. So, for example, we have some that are legal documents filed by date, filed by name of the person who's involved in a case, things like that. So those become super important because they have to be found. They have to be right. And if there's a space accidentally in the name of that file, even if in a PDF, then Google is going to stop when it's crawling. It's not going to find what it needs. And we're in trouble if it can't be searched.
Andrea, you said a minute ago when you were talking about blogs and how it creates the titles for you, and you said something about using it does the URL and then add spaces.
It takes spaces out. I'm sorry.
Spaces out. Okay, got
it. It uses hyphens instead of spaces.
Got it.
And it's, like I said, calling it what it is.
Okay. So
a lot of times,
in any kind of...
you shouldn't have spaces. I mean, you're going to find them as soon as I say that.
Yeah.
And we're going to find them on our own. We're constantly auditing, and you're always in a process of trying to decide what's important and what's worth going and fixing. I don't know if you try to go to the city website sometimes, for like Lincoln's city website. I have a hard time because I forget that I'm supposed to search inside the site first, is how it's been built. And it's hard to, it would be really hard for them to go and rewrite the entire website and get all that content in there, I understand. But you're supposed to go to the main page, then search the keyword they told you to search. And 80% of your users, just keep that in mind. I mean, I'm sure this number changes all the time, but 80% of them are going to go Google first. And I hate to say Google. I should be saying other versions of the hacky sack, like yes, Bing and Yahoo and things like that. But they are starting there. They're not necessarily going to your home page. So this is why it's fairly important.
Are you saying that the PDF URL should not have spaces in it?
Well, now I'm saying that the way that we built this past search was so specific that yes, it couldn't be found. But you know and I know there are ways of getting around that, and that they have functioned before. But if somebody is searching for a PDF, there are going to be there's other ways, methods of finding a PDF, but maybe that's not what they're looking for.
Well, and just putting spaces in a file name that you put on the web, the URL is going to actually put the space. And give you percent to 0 or whatever. So I think general rule of thumb, never use spaces in the URL in the file name that you put on the web.
And you know, there are probably extensions you could buy that, like, you know, I get a bunch of PDFs that I'm supposed to be posting for other people. I'm sure there's an extension I could buy that would just like take it out and take all the capitalization out as well and put the hyphens in. But I just haven't sat down and searched for one. So I do it by hand every time. I'm just constantly taking out people's file names or renaming them to what they are. And that's always hard because you think you're naming it what it is, but name it to what your mother would search for. A good keyword, a good turning point to use.
And you just said you took the capitalization out.
I also take the capitalization out, yeah.
Any specific reason?
For uniformity, I guess that's just about it. And I'm not going to say that one search engine can't find one over another, but I just like to make it all look the same. And all my images I do the same thing for images for web content. I take all the capitalization out too.
If you don't capitalize, you don't have to remember if you capitalize.
Right, yes. Yeah. Now, whether or not your website has good search engine optimization is something that is hard to, these search engine optimization masters want you to pay them to decide. So what I found is an extension that I put into my Firefox website that just when I hit a website, it'll tell me percentage-wise how it rates. And it's based on all those things I just told you, whether or not there's a title that's specific, whether or not it even has an H1 tag. Sometimes we go straight for the H3. Whether or not it has keywords and metadata. And even though that's one of the things that was on the list that I'm going to talk to you about, meta tags, really that's just where you place your it's where you place your keywords. It's where you place the description of your website so that when you post it on Facebook, it says a description of your website. And those are something you can find on the USA.gov website, or how and where to put that code in the head of the website. This Firefox extension is called SEO Doctor. So it's just a free tool, and that also can be found in the links that they're going to provide for you at the end. But it's a download. I couldn't tell you whether or not it's risky to put it on your Firefox extensions. I know some of you have security that doesn't let you do that, but my example was going to be that you can show this website is environmentaltrust.org, and I built this one so I felt pretty good about where everything was. And if you wanted to, when you go home, get this extension and check one out, you can see that there are some things that are a little bit different. Like, I don't think I even got to H3 tags on this page, so it kind of docks me a little bit. That doesn't really matter if you don't have H3 as a heading. If you don't have a third subdomain or subheading, why would you put it in there? But this one rates a 90%. It has the keywords and the source code. It has a description in the top. So if you want to use one that you can just imitate, you want to go to environmentaltrust.org, view the source code, and then you can just imitate how and where you put your keywords and your description in place.
Can we look at the source code?
We could, of course, look at the source code. I didn't venture to do that here on the screen. I don't know how well we're going to be able to see it, but
Down the bottom.
oh, there we go. Almost resized my window. Oh. All right. Of course, my tabs or maybe my indenting isn't as clean when you view it like this, but you'll see that in the head tag, it's going to be right under your title of the page. And the first one is meta name of description, and then the content is just the description that was on their website in general for what the mission statement is, if you will, for the environmental trust. And then the keywords, I don't have a lot of them on there, but if I really got into the keyword generator I was talking about earlier, maybe I'd find some more. But these are folks that usually their website is, their audience is, yes, citizens, but for the most part they are recipients of a grant. So they know where they're supposed to go, and there are a lot of resources that are there, and so they're not necessarily using the search engine part of it. And if they are, there aren't a lot of words that they need to find in Nebraska for conservation and environment.
One of the things that I've discovered is that you can eliminate the other 49 states by including not only the word Nebraska in the description, but also as a keyword.
Right. That works.
Probably will figure it out once they get Nevada when they're looking for Nebraska. They will then plug that word in the keyword search, and you can really they will do that for you.
Makes sense. I don't think there's anything really that much more interesting in the source code to look at, but the order of the heading was placed there. And we're kind of really proud of this one because we're using jQuery rather than Flash for any kind of photo rotating banners, and that's going to be nice for iPad users. But for me, when I post on my Facebook, I have a lot of images I can use. Sorts of things. I don't know. Are there any other questions? This is one of those things. If I get talking about specifics, I'll lose all of you. So you better ask me some questions.
Can we go back to the SEO doctor?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you need, you download this and you run it on your website, and it does.
Well, what happens is if you download this extension, it will be part of your browser if you use Firefox, and it just goes to the very bottom. I don't know if you use Firebug as a coder, but it's down there on the left next to it, and it just is a percentage. So what's fun is no matter what website you're on, it's going to tell you what somebody's code is giving as a search engine score. So if you want to feel good about yourself, you can look at like Target.com, and then see maybe their search engine optimization might not be as good as yours. And also, I mean, I don't know how you are, but I can learn a lot by looking at other people's websites and what they're doing right. So that's another reason why I like that one. It's easy to use, and it's not going to throw you any kind of fanciness about what you should be using for trying to get more money going through your site. You're obviously not necessarily commerce, so this was a clean and simple version of that.
I don't use SEO doctor, but I'm thinking that in the last few weeks I've run across a tool that, of course I'm not remembering if maybe somebody's familiar with it, that tells you, like one of my pages that I have built that haven't started out with H1 or H2. Is anybody else familiar with something like that? Perhaps it was something on WebAIM.
Oh, yeah.
The Wave?
The Wave tool is good. That's for accessibility, and you should have that as well. But it's something you can go to on the website itself. You don't have to necessarily download anything. It's almost like a code validator where you can either put your URL to it or upload the code directly. But the Wave tool on webaim.org.
One of the things that you guys built for us, we've always had a search engine to search just our site. And now the Google search client is very effective. But I asked Bruce, is it possible to do just a portion of the site and apply the search function just to a particular file? And he said, yeah, can you get it for us? So it might be that some of these folks might find that functionality very useful. In our case, it was a store for the people who were tired of coming out, who ran the store, didn't like the entire site being found when someone might just be searching for a product.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's a very useful thing that we could do for things kind of folks.
Right. Great suggestion. Thanks. Well, without trying to be overwhelming, you can make a search based on just about anything. So if you did a custom search, it wouldn't even have to be about your site. So if you wanted to offer it as a tool to some of your users for whatever reason, I'm looking at agriculture, so I'll just say, let's say there's agricultural statistics you wanted to offer as a as a tool to your users. You could go and put in the keyword searches yourself, build a search that only searches sites that you know are valid and things that have been, they have good credentials, and then you could offer that as a search to Nebraskans, who care maybe about prices or something to that effect. So a Google search appliance is really versatile in that regard, however large or small, across the web or not. Anything else you can think of? All right, well, thanks for letting me talk at you. If you have any other questions, of course, just give us a call, and we would be happy to walk you through something even over the phone, even if it's just coding.
Let me ask something about, okay, so you're creating PDFs, and you start, one of the things we talked about was titles. And I know we create PDFs off our website, and sometimes we start with a Word document, or I'm not sure what else at this point, but I'm going to say Word document. I'm sorry, what? Our publisher. Now, publisher won't give you the ability to go in and give it a good title, but Word, you can go in and give it a good title under a certain part of it, because otherwise the title of the document will be the title of your, the title of the PDF when you're done will be the title of your Word document. But if you go into Word and put a title under the, if there's a prepare option and put a nice title in there, then when you make the PDF, it creates a good title for you. But publisher, we found, doesn't do it. So after we create our publisher PDFs, we have to go back and use Adobe Acrobat to go in and put in a good title for the.
Oh, that makes sense, right. Well, and I want to say here, too, that when it comes to PDFs, those are probably the most challenging part of being found. So when all else fails, that's why a URL is important, as I'm going to say, to files that are not necessarily HTML. Also, let's say you have a scanned item that you're trying to make a PDF that is found, and it is not going to search the content in that situation. But Adobe Acrobat, like you were saying, is a product that's fairly expensive. A lot of people don't have that as an agency. We can help you with those kinds of things. We can modify it so that we can put in keywords that can be found, and then convert it to a PDF that can be read. Maybe not all the content in there, but we can add keywords to it so that it can be easy. But PDFs are, just make sure that you have a really specific title to your PDF as well, even if it's kind of long in those situations.
And I know when you were talking about going to USA.gov, and one of the things, the keyword generator was the word stream, and it's just picking up, like accreditation is one of the words on our website that we have. We know how people spell it the wrong way because we actually have our own search engine here, so we can go through our searches and find what they spell it this way and this way and this way. But WordStream is going to do what they're doing is looking across the web to see how people spell it differently. Is that where they get their?
Well, I mean, I can't tell you what their algorithm is,
well, okay.
even, but I mean, it's just better than nothing. I mean, to start out free and then maybe decide if it's worth it to you to actually invest in a good one. There are some suggestions on some pay-for services that are on that website as well. So it just depends on what your needs are. And for me, start anywhere, and then I can maybe get creative myself about how it would work. All right, well, anything else? How much are you coding yourselves? Like, raise your hand if you feel like you're someone who is interested in seeing under the hood for any of the code that's here. I mean, I made an assumption. But, I mean, if you want to see the code that's under the hood, you can see that on that main page where it has, and I also pass that note to Duncan. I'm happy to pass it to you about what the results page looks like. The results page has the most code. You're going to drop it inside of your template, but it does come with standard Google style sheets, so it can just spit out a results page that looks like Google itself, but sometimes that'll confuse your users. They'll think they've left your website.
Does the environmental trust that you did, are they using the?
They are not. They're using one like, let me see if I can find a word that they would have in here. Just say grants. This one is within their template itself.
So you can take the results code and put it in the template.
Right, with a custom Google search.
Do you think that adds any, do you think by using the Google, do you think by adding the extra code onto the web pages, it's taking longer to do the search than if you had your own search engine in-house? Do you think it makes any difference?
I would rather use theirs. And
Google might be faster.
yeah.
Okay.
I know that, and the reason I think that is just because I had a friend that did one of the smartest people we know applied to work there, and the kind of math tests they have to take. and I want my people to be found by Google ahead of others.
Well, if you're relying on Google to search your site, it's still going to take into account the links from outside your site to that in the relevancy ranking. I mean, you're getting the outside Google juice, aren't you?
No, not really, because you gave it a limit.
No, but it's limiting the results to what's on your site.
Right.
How it's ranking those results are going to be as if you would have done a Google search.
Yes, but no. I mean,
That's how I
yeah.
understand it.
If you're talking about how much is working behind the hood when it comes to like, the process and how the servers it's hitting and things like that,
Right.
I guess when it comes to where it's going to get their servers, yes, it's probably going to Google land.
Right. No, but it would be the
Why
same.
is grants process number one? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Right.
the ranking of the search results. If I had gone to Google and typed in a search that said, search for grants, but limit my results to just stuff from this site,
That's
that's the same as what I'm getting here, but it's within that site and it's automating the building of that search form. So if a lot of people from outside the site are linking to grants process, may not actually be happening in this case. You're getting the benefit of everybody else's linking.
Oh,
thing.
the benefit of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Whereas if you use your own search engine, you're getting just.
no, you're at,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry, I
right.
totally missed that part.
Yeah, sorry.
And when other people have your link on their website as well, even better when it comes
Yeah.
to search results. So I apologize, I totally missed that part. But
Can you address how we would tell the public that they should use that route to rank a Google search when Google search appliance is using it within your site does not rank anything, whereas using Google gives you the benefit of all that ranking of other people getting the page. How should we tell someone that that's what they should do in order to get a better ranking of results?
well, I don't think I understand your question.
Google Search Appliance does not rank anything, but Google Search does.
Right. Basically, what you would tell the public, are you trying to convince somebody to use the Google search, or?
Well, if they were not, if you had too many hits under Red Cloud, or, in our case, could they use that route to maybe limit them and find the one that they're looking for come closer to the top?
I think what you're talking about is the Google block is the more links that everybody puts on, the higher the ranking to the top, and how do you control that? Because
Oh, I see.
everybody, the grant process is probably first because everybody that wants money is looking for grants, and that's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
So that's probably the first page. Is how do I do a grant from because I heard about it, and how do I do a grant? And that's probably first. And
Okay.
the question is, how do you control that if you don't want that to be first?
Well,
If you're relying on Google, I don't think you can.
well, this is one of the things where you're looking at your statistics and you're trying to decide why people are seeing one thing over another, and that's something you really have to be, introspective about. Is once you do see those statistics and you do see that it's coming up ahead of other things, what can you do with the content to make it draw the correct traffic?
If you want to control the order of the results, then you probably shouldn't be using Google. You should, because we do that here with our own internal search engine, where on certain keywords that you search, we have kind of like the best result we think you really want up at the top. Okay? But if we switched over to Google, we couldn't do that because we'd be relying on Google to rank the results.
Right.
So,
Well, and I think that when you consult with a lot of people, taking these guys for example,
Right.
You know, and so it kind of helps that
That conversation, yeah.
With, you know, when you're walking through things with different people about how their site should go. This is the users are telling everybody how your site should work, and if you're going against that, you know, that's why we're here. That's what we're saying.
Absolutely.
Um,
It's really where we put our marketing hats on and try to figure out how we can either recast what you are trying to portray, or how we can put more marketing materials out in the right places, either virally or through mailings, to get people to where they be.
And I think to control that, to kind of go into your question, yes, you don't have any control over it, but you do have to have a plan and a methodology of what vision you want to cast for your website, you know, and it's a business level decision. You know, if that's not it, what is it? And then you use that as a gauge. Is it working?
Well, you know, control as much as if you want it specifically to be a certain way.
Right.
You're not going to get you're not going to, Google's not going to match your wants necessarily. You have as much control as if you want good Google juice, write good content. Well,
Yeah.
easier said than done. I mean, you know,
Right.
And I kind of think of it in terms of marketing. You know, if you want the Nebraska Environmental Trust to be first, you know, then how are you going to market that on your website and brochures and on commercials and all of that type of stuff? And in a month, that moves up to the top, then it worked. If it didn't, then we need to try something else.
Exactly.
And I think that's where the benefit comes in. And you know, and you guys already know this. You know, this is why we have to constantly go through sites, you know, and do things. So.
Yeah, refresh content and constantly be looking at what you can do better. And then the next meeting is going to be Anna, my partner in crime in that situation. She's going to be talking about statistics and how to analyze them. And we're always trying to get better at it ourselves, because it can give you some false results, and it can give you some customized results. So we'll just talk about all the ways that we can help you out in that situation.
I guess from my standpoint, being kind of on the periphery of the website management, do you then meet with the agencies, or how do you help an agency decide? For example, our title is Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, so we probably do Nebraska Blind Visually Impaired.
When it comes to keywords, or?
Yeah. And maybe I don't know. I'm not Googling our sites.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That how could what?
Do you need us to how does it get decided if we're hosting through you?
Mm-hmm.
What terms are used for metadata?
Well, we can, of course, help you out with that if it becomes a priority when you see your statistics after, you know, and for some reason your stuff isn't being found, or if you have something it's obviously needs to be showcased. We don't necessarily have it built into the process, though, of our consultancy with everybody about what they could do best. But we are providing statistics at a regular basis. I mean, if you wanted some consulting with that, we could just, every time we gave you the reports, we could have a talk about what sites were you hoping to be found, is there something you're disappointed with, how can we help you get more results out of what you need. So I think that's actually a pretty good idea to build in a process.
Does everyone who hosts on Nebraska.gov have the ability of the statistical reports?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that mandatory or is it optional?
Well, I think that, do you mean like, is it mandatory that they get reports from us?
Is
or?
it mandatory that they have the coding on their pages in order for the consultant?
Oh, I see. No, when you're hosting with us, it's not necessarily this specific code that's going to be required on your site. You could also use Google Analytics at the bottom of your site if you liked signing in yourself. Our urchin statistics are what she's going to be talking about sooner, and it's a little more rich when it comes to solutions.
Urchin does not require code on it.
Right. Nope.
urgent you do your web logs that are on your individual site. What you're hosting urgent on your individual site. With the Google Analytics, they're coming to look at your.
Well, when you're hosting with us, you use Urchin, and there's no additional code you need to use. And
When you're hosting at your site.
that is, yeah, it's analyzing what we have at the server level.
But that will give you the keyword searches. What are people asking for? How are they to address their questions? What are they? How are they looking for her site? And abbreviations,
And all of the spelling.
all of that type of stuff.
So then you can add that to the keywords so then get to.
And I feel like the reason it's more rich is because when we have applications, we can also search error codes to see what was being thrown and why somebody would stop through an application and not complete a transaction, things like that. That's not necessarily Google Analytics itself. Google Analytics is just putting, like, anybody can have that on their website, and then they can access it themselves. You can access it Urchin yourself too. It's just a version of what you like visually.
So Urchin is another analytics.
Urchin is basic. Actually, it's owned by Google. It's an extension of what they do. It's just a much richer server level of what is being accessed.
And how's that?
What's that?
Urchin, E-R-C.
Oh, I'm sorry. Urchin like sea urchin. U-R-C-H-I-N. And what happens with that, if you are hosting with us, then we give you a username and password that you can access it yourself as well. We can help you break it down into what it means. We can generate reports in a certain method.
If our site is not hosted with you,
I'm not sure how the CIO takes care of that, but I'm sure that they have some kind of reporting you could. Do they?
Going back to searching for just a minute, can you go to the state website and do a search for me? And this is one of the things I wanted to, and I'm not saying that everybody's looking for a state agency starts at the state website, okay? I'm just saying if people were searching for you and they started at the state, well, yeah, well, it's just, and like if you did a search here for library.
I'm not resizing my window, so I'm library. What am I going to get, Janet?
Well, it's
not make
fine.
this a surprise.
No, it's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Because I want to say that your search term has just become so much better.
Oh, awesome.
And the Library Commission is the second one. And then a term that's used to. But this is where titles come in. If you go down where it says Grand Island, underneath that it just says library. Well, which library is that? It's Papillion, because you can tell. But, you know, their title tag needs to be changed so that when you do this, you can see that it says.
And this is the fun part, isn't it? Let's criticize other people's
I'm just
code.
No.
That's no better way to learn. No, I mean, it is recognizing why it's not happening after we've just had this conversation. It will change the way you code.
And then can you do a search on driver's license, which was, I can't remember.
Yes. Now here's a situation which is interesting. Driver's license, I always spell as though it's my possession, and it turns out that legally it is a driver's plural license sometimes.
so add apostrophe.
No,
And I would
no
probably
apostrophe.
just write driver license because.
Oh yeah, and driver license. Now here's the thing, sometimes you can't assume that it's going to find it even though it's a root of the word plural, whatever. So that's another aspect of keyword choosing.
So then you need to figure out whether or not you spell it L-I-C-E-N-S-E or C.
You do want to try to grab them all,
But I want-
even the ones who can't spell.
And and you guys in the state, I don't know when you guys changed your search engine, which probably was several years ago, but then before it was not very good. But I say now it's coming
You're
up.
liking this?
Yes, I
All
like
right.
it very much. And,
I like to hear
and
that.
If other people, you know, your state agency
On camera.
come up, if people come to there, like Krista said, they're probably just using Google anyway. But if you do come here, they have a great search engine on the state webpage.
Thank you. And you can also limit it yourself. So this is, we can, at our level, our developers can do a combination of what is available through the Google appliance and their own handiwork. So you can choose the radio button from the beginning to search everything or a specific website, and that is not something that I personally can do, but
Oh, not
right.
here.
No.
Andrew, will you search for Nebraska State jobs?
Are you trying to say something about
Not at all.
my employment? Just kidding.
Yay.
Look at you.
Check out my title. What is this?
State job dot Nebraska dot DOT.
Ooh.
Oh,
The title.
You're even going to get the dot spellers.
oh gracious.
Are you sure you want them working for you?
What did you do? It came out first.
Right, and then there's PERIOD. I work with these kinds of people on a daily basis, right?
It's true. Spelling happens. Is there anything else you can think of, Janet?
You used up all my questions I wrote down.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you had questions. Anything else that I did not answer?
I think the February meeting, all of this stuff that's talked about here, about statistics and urchin, you'll start to see kind of what we were talking about is, okay, well, if I do this, then it shows up here in my stats, and that's where people are dropping off, or they're getting to here right before they drop before they leave. You know, and so a lot of these things, you'll start to see this, kind of like the Matrix, all of a sudden you start to see this path of,
Right.
you know, I see where they're going and how they're headed, and
What the dead
it
ends
all
are.
makes sense.
And where I nerd out is like I started making specific URLs that are just for marketing, so I can tell if my print marketing is being remembered. So it's different. I'm using like a tiny URL, but I make it specific to just marketing materials so that if it's being used and people are getting there from that, then I can tell if it's working or not. Because then it's just like, oh, you looked at my marketing materials. Of course you found me.
I kind of like, we're here already subscribing to your person.
Well, the thing is, it's not really like you're subscribing. It's like you're already there. You just don't have the keyword, the code words to get in yet. So everybody's got the potential for that. It sounds
Everybody
like.
who's housed at Nebraska.gov.
Right, and if you're not housed in Nebraska.gov, it sounds like you can still get access to something similar. So everybody's got the keys to it. They just don't know it. Only us who showed up.
Do you think you can talk a little bit about how you customize the search engine? I mean, we use the Google customized engine.
Right? Like what's so custom about it?
What choice you can do that? What kind of choice?
Okay, well,
Me, of course, I just set to our own website.
Right. Well, and that's part. Okay, let me imagine a scenario where, let's say you are actually listing out engineers and architects on your web page who are licensed. A lot of times you don't have that necessarily just on your HTML content. It's usually behind like a secure firewall and maybe in a database. But let's say that was a situation and you wanted to just have a custom search that searched for a specific license type within your website, or you wanted to also compare it to another state which has reciprocity. So you want to say, well, this person is licensed in Nebraska and also over here because they're licensed in Nebraska. You can build a search tool in your website for other people that does not necessarily go to your website. So it's searching Google, it's searching all the internet for specific keywords and other specific sites, not just yours, and limiting out all the stuff that you don't want to tell Google itself. So you're offering that as a tool on your web page, and that's what is also custom about it. It's also custom because you can, like I said, style the results. You don't have to style your own results. If you're not familiar and comfortable with CSS, you could still have it go to just Google's default styles. But you could also have it inside of a template. And folks like you could even get even more specific on the results part of it, because you work in a database all the time. You could probably find ways to, export it as an XML file and then have it generate this whole other kind of report. But they don't pay me for that.
When you say report, do you mean another web page?
Results, right. Some results can be exported in a number of different formats, but it's the stuff that is not necessarily for this conversation. It's a little too complicated.
So are you saying that on my website,
Mm-hmm.
general agency, that I have licenses?
Right.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can have a search on my homepage and any of the other ancillary pages and search for grants, search for rules and regulations. And I would get all of that information. But if I went to licensure and I did a search, I could customize it just for the people that are licensed. So technically, I'm not getting, on my regular page, I'm not getting all these licensed names of people.
Right.
I'm getting everything else but, because those always come up first.
Right. You're getting, instead of at Google where you're going to get everything else,
Right.
on your own web page, you don't have to, you can build an engine that can go to other websites besides your own, but that are pre-screened for that by you. So you know that these are credentialed resources, and it's going to search all these credentialed resources and not just your own. That's just another option for the custom search.
You can set up a Google custom search, just search a subsection of your site.
Right, and a specific page as well.
Or subsection of the entered.
You could, yeah, absolutely.
When you say subset, that's supposed to be structures.
Yeah, you can look, you can.
Right, yeah. You could point to directories. And that's something we used for this, the website I was talking about earlier, where the legal documents are filed by date. So we named the directories by month, year, for that search to be customizable.
Is it essentially just getting a list of URLs that you want to do the search?
Yeah, it can be. And that's something that you can look at in that Google, the getting started. The stuff I didn't want to bring to the whole table and overwhelm everybody, but there's a lot of potential.
So people who house at Nebraska.gov can certainly come and chat with you guys about how to do this, do their search that just kind of is search on their own website.
Right.
Maybe we'll get more state agencies that have searches on their own website. And not all you guys are fine. That I'm talking about.
Well, I'll bet we don't. But our website is.
Well, yeah. Why do you need search if you have? I'm sure you have more than 2 pages. But if you have 2 pages, why do you need search?
Well, and that's another thing is
everything
that
from the front page.
you don't have to have this search appliance on your website to analyze your statistics. They're there or not. Other people are searching for you whether or not you have a tool on your own site. So if you didn't want to bother with that whole part because you don't think people are going to use it, then you can still have the consultancy of trying to figure out how you can make these certain pages in your content be more visible through those statistics.
Well, it really just wants to, if you have everything that you want to take rather than the search engine, I can take a look at these people that employ me in person or look at their website first and do is look for that search.
Right. You catch yourself doing it all the time too. Like you look at a site and you go blah 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 blah.
Our website that's the number one route into our website is the search box.
Maybe you covered this before, I got here with a little bit late, but maybe this is part of the custom search thing, but, the Google search boxes where you can tell it either to search this site or to search the web. Is that part of the customization, web search customization?
I don't know.
Yes,
Is it?
that's a site that's using custom search.
So they give you the code for the two,
Yeah.
Options. I can't imagine why it wouldn't. It's a wizard.
Form that says, I want to limit my search to this website or anything underneath it. And then it will give you the code that you can paste into your site.
Yeah.
You can
It's
then do much more than that, but that's as simple as it gets. And
which
so
I already have on the template that Andrew built for us
Okay.
eons ago, but I don't have, it'll just search our site. What I don't have, the code that's not there is search here or search the web.
That's something that's been put in the code to turn that off.
Well, I think the one you have is before is not using a Google this appliance. It's using Google, but it's not using this custom one. This is a recent one. This is yeah, a recent service. I think it's probably before we had that conversation.
But I think what you're saying is that you've seen websites with two boxes, one that says search, or two radio buttons.
Yeah, that's on Nebraska.gov actually. So she was just asking, is this part of the wizard on the Google search appliance? Can you put that in there? And yes, you can.
What does the search by task mean? I have always wondered what that meant.
Like if you needed to do something through government.
Free services, subscriber services.
Pay. Oops.
Okay. So your search, you just said that you can do on your search Nebraska.gov, you can do either the whole internet or just Nebraska.gov.
I think.
Actually, this one doesn't.
No.
I'm sorry. I think we did it by. I'm sorry, I said it wrong.
That's okay.
For this particular one, it's you just search all of it or search by it in a different way, but there are pages that have that.
You can search either
Right.
this side or Google. Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. Have you been to W3 schools? They have it like that too. Like, do you want to just search about how to code this part through W3, or do you want the whole internet? And that's one example.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, there's Google Custom Search, and then there's your Google Search Appliance.
That is wrong.
Because you can
Wrong.
do a Google Custom Search without having any sort of appliance for any website you want. You can just go to Google and create a custom search for any old website.
Well, that's pretty much what we're telling you how to do.
Okay.
I mean, if I said appliance and I shouldn't have said it,
Okay.
that's my fault. But basically, this is a
Google
Google
Search
This is Google Custom Search. You're using the APIs and their tools.
Because a Google Search
Should not have said
appliance is
appliance.
hardware.
My fault.
Okay, you're just doing Google.
Why would you have a Google appliance hardware?
Because you want to run Google's algorithms on your site. It's,
Like plugged into your server?
yeah, you could do
It goes back to Jane.
I definitely don't want to know about those things.
that. Yeah.
It was
Okay.
awful.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. So
It's my fault.
okay. So we're just talking about Google custom searches. Okay.
You knew that.
No, I didn't know. I thought
You didn't see a little hard box next to my laptop.
Which then, of course, now I have a question. This is, okay, when I put the code that you come in here and you have it generate the code, you drop it down on all your pages, and then you go to your
you're
page,
searching
you search.
Google. Yeah.
You're searching Google,
But
but it's
limiting
only
your results
limited
to your yes.
So that's a Google custom.
That is a Google custom.
But then you can also, you just said you can go to Google and put in your URL and then a search term, and it will only search your site.
Well, you can do that too, but basically.
But basically only librarians do
You're,
that.
you're well. Less than you think.
Yeah.
What the Google search custom search is going to do is build you a box that makes it so that the user doesn't have to type in, please limit the results to this website.
It makes it so your mom can
You're
get
right, exactly.
results.
So it's automating the process of building.
I always keep
a
mom in
search
mind.
query in Google.
Anyone else? Sorry. We could go forever. Oh, thanks
Thank
for having me.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
next time, the 1st of February, we're going to do statistical patches with Anna. The first Wednesday in February.
First of February.
Okay. Thank you guys. Of course, Andrew will be available for like 2 seconds before she heads out the door.
Oh no, I'm hanging out. I can have a cookie.
Good stuff.
Are you good?